Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Podium Esports coverage of the Sim500 Transervice Cup Series. It's round number 29, the Tom D'Alfonso Design 250, 29th round and third race of the 2020 Sim500 Transervice Cup Series playoffs. I'm Blake McCandless alongside my broadcast partner Taylor Burris, as well as Zach Johnson down in the production trailer. But I guess we need to go ahead and get started with the starting lineups. Taylor, these guys are getting set up quick.
They most certainly are. We're looking forward to it as we get ready to roll them off. Let's go ahead and get the starting lineup.
With Kyle Tarasca taking the pole with Brian Fallon to his outside. Donnie Lee is in third. Justin Fuller fourth. Adam Gilliland in fifth. Tommy Ryan in sixth. Brian Macklin seventh. E.J. O'Rourke is in eighth. Richard Beasley ninth. And 10th is Nelson Rivera.
Starting in 11th will be Chad Cole, followed by Chad Coleman in the 12th position. Daniel Folkingham will be starting in 13th, followed by Nick Cohan in the 14th position. 15th will be Josh Parker, followed by Randy Yoakum in 16th. John Boris will be starting in the 17th position, followed by Nick Silver in 18th. Timothy Johnson will start 19th. Rounding out your top 20 will be Mike Kelly.
21st goes to Thomas O'Leary, 22nd to Eric Arnold, 23rd to Scott Stenzel, 24th to Trey Edson, 25th Scott Simley. Starting 26th will be Don Rumpel Jr., 27th is Gail Brooks, 28th Jeff Shrewsbury, 29th is Jeff Ryan, and 30th is Shane Ewing.
Starting 31st will be Doug Roth, followed by Joe Cattini in 32nd. Glenn Campbell will be starting in the 33rd position. David Comstock will be starting in the 34th position. Anthony DeBarro will be starting 35th, followed by Sean Castro 36th. 37th, Jason Barham, Kevin Brown in 38th, and Christopher Tate rounds out your 39-car field.
And we're just able to catch our breath before we get going for 250 laps around the Bristol Motor Speedway. Not a lot of time to cover, but it's certainly important. So as Kyle Tarasca will get things started here at the world's fastest half mile, the last great Coliseum, and Tarasca is off and away. We're green flag racing here, but here comes Bryce Fallon on the outside looking for the lead to come over to lap one.
He's going to try everything that he can as he tries to look to the inside as he actually goes off that number 18 car. As he is struggling to get back out onto the track, he is going to lose a ton of positions here early on.
And unfortunate for Kyle Tarasca, started in the top spot on the inside row. And I think it just goes to show you how deflating that inside can be. If you're stuck there, we see pretty much the entire field starting to make their way up to the high side. Seldom Brian Macklin, who is stuck right here on the bottom side, cannot find his way up. He's in 11th and falling back to 12th now, side-by-side battle with him, with Richard Beasley.
He is, but we're starting to see a couple of drivers trying to work their way, squeezing their way up to the top side of the racetrack to see if they can get in a rhythm, hold their position as we continue to race here at Bristol, but it's going to be very difficult. It looks like one of the cars, though, has come down pit road, Anthony DeBarro.
Now, actually, that's DeBarro. He missed the starting grid for the race. So, of course, DeBarro locked in through his win at Darlington just a couple of weeks ago. So, DeBarro just out here perhaps doing the minimum to get everything done here. I think he's just doing the old starting park that we used to see a number of years ago. But nevertheless, he will advance to the round of 12 by virtue of just completing a lap here at Bristol tonight. But it's Brian Fallon out front, Justin Fuller close on the charge in second. And, this is a guy that really needed a strong run tonight. Did not get quite the luck he wanted at Darlington. But, one of the storylines coming into tonight, Taylor, was how close this battle right along the bubble, right at the cutoff of the playoffs. Justin Fuller sits fifth on the grid, but he's only 13 points ahead of that cutoff.
It's going to be critical to get every point for him indeed to help him in the championship run for him to be able to advance. So it's going to be interesting to see how he's able to survive tonight and make sure that he gets enough points for him in order to help succeed and possibly claiming a championship.
Certainly have to see if he has what it takes to get it done tonight. Justin Fuller awfully strong last weekend at Richmond and has taken well to the short tracks for a majority of this season. One short track ace directly behind him, former series winner this year, is all the way back in Indianapolis, as well as the All-Star race, and that is Donnie Lee in the 29 Toyota. And an awfully strong run for him. You think of Donnie Lee, you think of short tracks, and he takes pretty well to Bristol, running right now up in the top 30.
Yeah, Donnie Leah is actually one of the best when it comes to racing here at Bristol. Of course, mostly when it comes to a modified, not really in a stock car, but he sure is wheeling it out there right now, running in P3 and holding strong. He's about 1.1 seconds back from our top two right now as he comes down the front straightaway here, as we have already completed just as quickly 13 laps in the books at Bristol.
And that's exactly right. The laps here at Bristol, well, they click off pretty quick. You can see up front right now with your leader, Brian Fallon. He's clocking in laps right around the 14.5-second marker of 14.794 was what Fallon ran that last time by. So you're clicking over 4 laps a minute here at Bristol. It can go by awfully quickly. And Fallon definitely showing the way throughout a field that has begun to spread out, especially in the top two. About a second margin over Donnie Leah in third, but they are still viciously racing throughout the pack. But I think you've seen Taylor a mass exodus to the top as you get a look there at Adam Gilliland.
Most definitely. We'll have to keep an eye and see what will happen as we continue racing here as they go down through the corners right now into turns 1 and 2 as our race leaders still continue raging up here in the battle as they see Fuller is trying to keep that lead over, is trying to keep up with Fallon, but it's going to be a little bit difficult, especially once they start getting into lap traffic.
And I think any race at Bristol, whether it's kind of like the real-life Bristol NRA night race that we saw here just a couple of evenings ago, or whether it's here on iRacing, you know that at some point that lap traffic is going to come into play. And you look at the large lead that Fallon and Fuller have already built up just over about 20 or so laps into this race, but you can look directly in front of them on the back straightaway. They can already start to see a lot of that lap traffic out of their front windshields, especially for Fallon there as they work down the front straightaway. You can start to see the tail end of the lead lap right there directly in front of them. There, it's just in their view.
Most definitely indeed, as they try to keep it up with the field and keep moving through. It's going to be interesting to see as we see clear track right now for some of these drivers, but that will quickly change here as time progresses on and the laps continue to wind down under green flag conditions.
It certainly will, but if you're just joining us, I will give you a brief recap of some of the racing that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. At Darlington, we saw over a 110-lap green flag run that ended up seeing Anthony DeBarro in a spectacular last lap turn of events, eventually got to victory lane and was able to stake his claim into the round of 12 for the playoffs here in the 2020 Sim500 season. Last week, we're at the Richmond Raceway, and it was Daniel Falkingham who showed the way from beginning to end, started on the pole. There was really no answer for that 39 Chevrolet. He also is locked into the next round on wins. Right now, it's Adam Gilliland who leads the charge as far as overall points are concerned without a win. You see him riding along there in 5th position. Did not take a qualifying time last week, but was able to do just enough to get it done. And this is a pretty comfortable cushion over that playoff cut line, 33 points. So Gilliland just really has to finish tonight, and he will be on to the round of 12. But the interesting thing that we've been talking about this entire playoff run here, Taylor, is, you know, these guys don't have a lot of the playoff points that you often hear talked about here in real life. You get a great example of it right there in E.J. O'Rourke. A thrilling win at Daytona to lock himself into the playoffs and is trying to continue that Cinderella run right now, 9th on the playoff grid, just 7 ahead of the cut line. But he's one of the drivers that is a beneficiary of the fact that you don't come in with a lot of points. You have to execute each round.
You certainly do. You have to be very precise with each and every race that you run here as we get closer and closer to the playoffs and through the rounds here. You know, you want to make sure you try to win everything, but you also have to be prepared in case you cannot collect the win. Get as many points as possible, and especially as critical as the laps and the time continues to wind down, because one small mistake can cost you the chance of either moving on to the next round, moving into the playoffs, or being eliminated and not even competing for a championship at all.
And it certainly can, and we start to see what we were mentioning a little bit earlier, that lap traffic starting to come into play. No mistakes need to be had by our front two, but particularly for Justin Fuller. Brian Fallon coming into tonight, not a contender in the at least as far as the championship is concerned, not a part of the top 16 looking at our leaderboard, but obviously Fallon very strong last week and has brought a pretty good piece out to Bristol tonight. We've already clipped 31 laps by, and Ryan Fallon has led them all after winning the pole.
Yeah, a great effort for him, and we're going to be looking forward to seeing what he can do here tonight. He's running pretty good right now out there, but we'll have to see as we continue to watch the battle for the race lead between Fuller and Fallon as they continue 1-2, and they're still clear tracks right now, but that will soon change as we continue racing.
It certainly will. Richard Beasley now you see once again a side-by-side battle with Kyle Tarasca, who did not get the launch that he wanted. Started up in first, and I don't think I've been able to see quite a collapse like this. First all the way back to 14th already after just 33 laps of competition, as Kyle Tarasca trying to get back in the hunt. Tarasca, a driver who really needs a strong run and is part of really that huge cluster right at the cutoff of the playoff grid. Tarasca coming into tonight 14th in the playoff standings, and just 2. That's right, count them, 2 points outside of being able to advance. He's behind Chad Coleman and Kevin Brown, who right now is the first car eliminated. Unfortunately for Brown, as you see it scroll across your screen, it doesn't look like the night that he wanted. Took the grid, but has not completed a lap yet. So Kevin Brown may be the first driver that will be counted out tonight. Richard Beasley pretty much in a must-win scenario to try to get back in these playoffs. He's over 30 points beneath the cut line. So Richard Beasley reminds me a lot of both Ryan Blaney and Matt DiBenedetto from a couple of nights ago, that they need that win to have a chance to move on. But there you see Daniel Falkingham riding along there, trying to get through as we get another side-by-side battle with the lap traffic. And Falkingham, again, awfully strong last week as he was able to secure his spot in his 5th win for the 2020 Sim500 Transervice Cup Series Championship. He's able to get it done. He moves on and currently top the point standings ahead of Anthony DeBarro, who also has that win. So we've completed 40 laps here at Bristol, and we'll be right back. You won't miss a minute of it as we go side by side here for the last great Coliseum.
Coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson. Unbelievable finish. It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go toe to toe for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Loma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett Low. 4 wide at the stripe.
For Audie's win here on this outside line, neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out?
Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call.
For 50 years, many of North America's leading companies have put their transportation needs and reputations in the hands of the trusted pros at Transervice. From Walgreens and Kroger to the New York Times and Roma Foods, Transervice continues to grow its business with nationally and regionally recognized customers across a broad range of business segments. For more information, visit transervice.com. And you can believe it already, a 5th of the way through, as you see right there, the leader, Brian Fallon, who has led them all since the drop of the green flag. It's Blake McCandless, Taylor Burris, as well as Zach Johnson along here with you. Coverage of round 29 of the 2020 Sim500 Transervice Cup Series, and some hairy moments here for our race leaders. He starts to get into really the the teeth of this lap traffic. Scott Stenzel, John Borst in front of him, and perhaps a big moment there. Brian Fallon has to check up, and that's going to allow a whole bunch of lead lap traffic to get right on his bumper. Justin Fuller, Adam Gilliland into the mix as he's worked his way into the third spot, and Donnie Leah all nose to tail trying to get their way through the lap traffic.
It just shows you the difficulty of this lap traffic. You see, we had about a 1.1 second lead for our top two. Now everybody's pretty much backed up together, and we are back here with a 4-car battle for the race lead.
And right now, Fallon trying to do his best to try and get around John Borst, running 28th, and trying to hang on to his spot on the lead lap. That 28 Toyota, a little bit of damage you can see on the nose of his Camry, but right now it's a side-by-side battle directly behind the Folger Chevrolet as Fallon will go to the bottom side. It's Fuller in the middle. Adam Gilliland move him all the way to the top side, but for Brian Fallon, there's nowhere to go. They're too wide in front of him. Now the 8 checks up on the outside. Fallon looking for a way by, and Fuller trying to hang on to second over Gilliland.
Oh my goodness, the action is intense as we see him going 3 wide almost as they come down the front straightaway here off of turn number 4, and it's just battles all over the place. Top 3 are trying to get through the lap traffic, but it is difficult. Some cars taking it 3 wide even through the corner to try to make the pass work, but still Brian Fallon holding strong as he's working his way through lap traffic.
And one driver that's able to do it, Adam Gilliland, move him up to second as he's able to get by Justin Fuller. He still has some lap traffic in front of him, though. Bottom side, 3 wide at Bristol. Gilliland will shoot up. He'll throw, I guess what you could call a slide job to try and take that outside line. He gets by the lap traffic of Shane Ewing and move Gilliland up into second. Drop kick Justin Fuller back to third. Donnie Leah has not had a good of a go of it as our leaders of getting by some of the slower cars, but Fallon able to escape about a 3 or 4 car length lead, and Gilliland just a nose ahead of Justin Fuller as they'll head down the back straightaway.
They are definitely putting it on the edge, these drivers here at Bristol. Fallon doing a great job of working through lap traffic, but here comes Alan Gilliland with a head of steam. He is definitely trying to reel him in. Fuller still not too far behind either, but everybody else, such as Donnie Leah, he is struggling to get through this lap traffic.
He certainly is. Not a good go of it for Leah, and you know, it's a product of just Taylor, a really tough track to get around. We've seen that, you know, multi-groove has become more of a factor here at Bristol, but one thing that has become really difficult for a lot of drivers, and just the way the new Bristol operates, is that top line can be oh so difficult. You can be plenty faster than the car in front of you, but trying to make that pass on the bottom is it sounds much easier than it actually is.
It is, and unfortunately with this top group, a lot of the cars will be sticking to it because it's the fastest way around here. It's the best place with most grip for these cars to work on the top side. Now, once a run gets going on, like we're starting to see here, as we're approaching 60-plus laps completed, then we could possibly see some cars using that inside lane to make passes, especially when you can see drivers using the lap traffic at the pick in order to make those passes work. But even still, lap cars can be faster than you on the top side than you on the bottom. So it's going to be interesting to see who strategizes the best to utilize lap traffic in order to get around their competition.
No doubt about it, as we'll go ahead and take a look at the battle right now for 5th position. However, caution flag is out for the first time tonight as we approached and just crossed over to lap 64. We'll be slowed by our first yellow flag of the evening, and we're going to have to try and find it, because I'm trying to look back through my replay here, Taylor. Certainly difficult to find, but nevertheless, first time tonight that we have seen the yellow flag displayed. I believe if I look through some cars here on the back straightaway, oh no, it's EJ O'Rourke who seemed to have an issue, or at least saw a bunch of cars scattered on the back straightaway, checked up and got tagged by, I believe, David Comstock in the 42 as they worked their way down the back straightaway. So tough luck for one of our championship contenders. We were just talking about EJ O'Rourke, one of the surprise stories of this season through his late win, but it looks like he may have some heavy rear end damage on his 41 Chevy.
Also, another incident I saw on the track was the 3 of Jeffrey Ryan, along with, I believe, it's going to be, I can't find the number 8 of Yoakum as well. They got together a little bit during that caution period. So that could also be another reason why that caution came out.
And it was definitely a chain reaction. Not exactly sure which incident was the one that directly triggered the caution flag, but nevertheless, we'll just say the combination of both. As you see O'Rourke out of shape there on the back straightaway, does a good job at keeping it safe, but I think you see the decrease in speed and nearly coming to a complete stop is, by my estimation, what would have triggered a caution flag. But nevertheless, some more issues for some of our drivers. We'll get the first one as we approach nearly the 1/4 marker of this race. But you see the attention of the crews now. The utmost importance as the 25 going to be able to get off. However, not before Adam Gilliland will cross that yellow stripe first. And Adam Gilliland started back in 5th and has worked his way up to the top spot, and he does so on pit lane.
What a job for the pit crew indeed to get everything lined up and make a great pit stop for him in order to take the lead here early on. But a lot can still happen. But now that he's going to be out front and clean air for at least the first few laps, let's see what Gilliland can do.
It's typically not a good thing when you're in Sim500 and you see the driver, the 81, find his way up to the top spot. Again, this is a driver who has a series-leading 7 wins so far this season, and obviously looking to notch number 8 and in a pretty good position to do so tonight. Gilliland pretty safe as far as the playoff picture is concerned, as we mentioned just a little while ago. 30 points and up is what he is at the cutoff. So Gilliland perhaps just a little bit of assurance out here as he has finally passed Brian Fallon as our first lead change of the evening takes place on pit road. But while we pace around under our first caution flag of the evening, want to remind you to visit simracingshirts.com, the one-stop shop for all of your favorite streamers merchandise. You can find many of your favorite iRacing streamers merchandise on there, as well as Bernard Pollard starting to get involved in the shirt business. And of course, you want to visit simracingshirts.com for all of those needs. So it'll be Adam Gilliland, Brian Fallon on the front row. Justin Fuller and Donnie Leo go side by side in row number 2. And then Nick Cohen and Daniel Falkingham, who has quietly worked his way up into the top 5 nearly. So has Cohen. They started about 15th. And Gilliland will get us going once again. The Gary Mercer Trucking Chevrolet on the loud pedal. And we'll go green flag racing once again from Bristol. Gilliland to the bottom. Fuller looking for the run off the top side.
Great battle as Gilliland was able to get away for the time being as we continue racing here. Justin Fuller, though, moving up to second, holding strong in that second position as he is trying to close the gap as best that he can. Meanwhile, Brian Fallon in third. He's trying to get through, trying to hold off a hard-charging Nick Cohen and Donnie Leo.
You see that side-by-side battle. Leah able to hold the top side, and Cohen, he's not only going to lose 4th, he's going to lose 5th as well to Daniel Falkingham. And there you see the struggle that it is on these restarts, how much you want to be in that high line. And you see Nick Cohen, he's going to try to get up, but just can't do it soon enough. And I think you're going to see a lot this evening, that slide job that we were talking about. You wouldn't typically think that this would be a track to do it, but it's so important to get up top. You see Cohen is able to slip right in front of Tommy Ryan, and he'll fall back in line back in the 6th position.
Yeah, it's going to be critical. We're going to see a lot of drivers try to utilize that outside lane for now, but some drivers may be brave, and since they have fresh tires, try to work that inside as best they can and gain some position, gain some ground on their competition. I see a couple of drivers making it work, such as looks like to be the 10 of Richard Beasley towards the back half of the field, but there are a couple of drivers up towards the front of the field who are trying to just dive it into the inside and then try to slide up in front of their competition. It's very tricky and can be very difficult and dangerous for them, but it can be so worth it if they're able to make the pass work.
No doubt about it that you want to be in that outside line, whether you're trying to pass or whether you're trying to defend your position. The high line is the place to be, no doubt about it. Another driver that has slowly worked his way up into the top 10, the Interstate Batteries Camry of Josh Parker has slowly started to make his way forward, as well as a group of drivers well started around the 15th position or so. We mentioned Falkingham, Nick Coman just a couple of moments ago. But how about Josh Parker doing the same thing? Started back in 15th and has started to work his way up inside the top 10.
He certainly is. A great hard charging for him as well, including, of course, Daniel Folkingham and Nick Cohen, who started 13th and 14th. And then you got to throw in Trey Edison. He started 24th. He's now up to 10th as we have a caution now.
Trouble on the back straightaway. It's the 32 of Shane Ewing as you see him parked right along the inside safer barrier here on the back straightaway. And Ewing was running back in this field a lap down, and I think he might have gotten just a little bit of help. Unfortunately, he also got into the third place running Brian Fallon as they were just getting caught by the leader. So trouble for the driver of the 32 Toyota Camry as we get one more look at it. And there you see it, Taylor. Classic Bristol racing as 32 just not up to speed in the 00. Don Runkle Jr. sends him around off the turn 2.
It's Bristol. We're going to see tempers flare, especially here at this track. And, of course, it's night racing as well, so you know things are going to get interesting, things are going to get wild, and, of course, tempers will flare here, especially as we're closing in to see who will be a champion here of the Sim500.
And that was awfully tough for a lot of these drivers. You saw obviously involved. Don Runkle Jr. gets into him, and I just think that's a product of most of these guys trying to do what a lap car should do, is get out of the way, let these leaders race their way around. But as you can see, you can even see on the nose of the Toyota of Donnie Leah, he got a piece of that accident as well. Brian Fallon got both some nose and some rear end damage on that 25 Folger Chevrolet. So we mentioned it a couple of times, Taylor. You see a perfect example of it right there. You always have to be on your toes when you come to Bristol. You never know when things can go awry. And you see two of our top 4 drivers, contenders here at Bristol. They quickly get snapped up in an accident, and they get to keep their track position, but I think they're gonna be a little hurt out in their race cars right now.
Yeah, there's nowhere for you to run or hide when it comes to racing at Bristol. I mean, you think you're safe 1 second, the next thing you know, you're piled into the back bumper of someone else's vehicle due to the fact of an incident on track. You have to be so careful and critical of where to place your car. Listen to every word your spotter tries to tell you as he feeds you as much information that he can in order to keep you out there on the track running laps instead of behind pit wall or on pit road trying to get damage repaired.
And certainly so, and I think this is playing partly into the decision for these drivers. Of course, something that was introduced in the middle of this past season, or at least a couple of seasons ago in the iRacing service, was the addition of tire limits. And of course, Sim500 has been using it since iRacing has released that feature. You saw that these drivers came down pit road, put 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles on for our first caution flag of the evening. That was one of 3 sets of tires, or brand new sets of tires that they had sitting on pit road. So counting the set that they started the race on, they had 4 sets. They had 3 fresh ones, and I think you get a good picture of it there. That most of these drivers on 2 sets of tires left sitting on pit road. I don't think you're going to see a lot of these guys come down and try to risk pitting after just what was a very, very short run on that last green flag cycle. About 5 or 6 laps of tires, not enough to come down and justify getting 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. So once again, it's Adam Gilliland. However, Justin Fuller now finds himself on the outside and in the second position, and Gilliland in control of the restart, and he's going to be able to pull ahead of Justin Fuller. They'll head to 1 and 2 once again. Green flag is out as Fuller nearly gets the wall in the center of the corner, but he's single file. They're side by side behind them between Folkingham and Donnie Leah.
Great battle for the top 3 right now as they continue racing here at Bristol Motor Speedway. No one giving an inch as Justin Fuller moves up to P2 right now as he's trying to catch up to the 81 of Adam Gilliland right now as he is still holding a strong lead, about 0.2 of a second between the 2 drivers as they work their way through the field.
And I think you can see there Donnie Leah not running at full song as, there's trouble here on the exit of turn 2 as there is a big pile of cars. There's one car sitting right at the entrance of pit road, but somehow the yellow flag has not waved. We stay under green as the slow car on the bottom side is the number 42 machine of David Comstock. A couple of checkups, a couple of hits. Comstock gets spun around, but not in a position where the flagman pulled the trigger. So the 42 Monster Energy Chevrolet takes the tumble here, but we will stay under green. Comstock now scored 25th, 1 lap down.
That's going to be unfortunate for him, but we are still under green flag conditions, which means things will still once again heat up, especially throughout the field right now. Adam Gillen has picked up an extra 0.2 over Justin Fuller right now, so it's 4.4 tenths of a second right now between Gillen and Fuller. About another 0.2 back, you'll see Brian Fallen and Daniel Falkingham as the top four. That's pretty much pulled away from the rest of the field.
Well, and actually, I went back and reviewed the incident for myself. It was some contact between Josh Parker and Nick Cohan right in the middle, or to the exit of turn 2, that really started a big checkup throughout the field. You can see the damage both on Josh Parker's Toyota and Nick Cohan's 21 machine running directly in front of him. That's kind of where all of that started. You saw a lot of drivers checking up. You saw 2 and 3 wide. And unfortunately, David Comstock gets tagged, but not in a position where he does a full 360. It's off the racetrack. He nearly avoided entering pit road as he almost went into those yellow barrels that protect the driver from the very tail end of the pit road wall. But nevertheless, a big moment right there, but we still stay under the green flag.
Yeah, very close thing as we have a battle for 4th position between Donnie Leah and Daniel Falkingham right now. Donnie Leah trying to see if he can get to the inside of Daniel Falkingham in that number 39, but still it's going to be a tough battle for those two as Leah looks behind and tries to make the pass.
And we'll see Leah try to look low here, but I think he's starting to lose Daniel Falkingham just a little bit. Again, a little bit of damage on the 29 Toyota, but Falkingham looking awfully strong. And I think he is starting to run down Brian Fallon, our pole sitter. But again, you mentioned the big damage on the back end of his machine as you take a good look at it from the windshield of Daniel Falkingham. And Falkingham looking high, trying to cut down low and take a big exit right here, carry a lot of speed down the corner. And Falkingham now, I think he's within striking distance of the 25.
We may see some drivers late into the run once those tires start to get a little bit wear and tear on them. We could see some drivers trying to dive in the corner. So they'll try to start up towards the top of the racetrack, dive it a little bit mid-corner, and then back up the racetrack off-corner exit. So it can help a little bit keep the grip going and as well build up your momentum here at Bristol Motor Speedway, and can even help you get to the inside of your competitors if the one on the outside makes a small mistake. So we're kind of seeing that right now between Daniel Falkingham and Brian Fuller. As we see, Falkingham looks to the inside of Fuller, but can't quite make it work off of turn number 2. We'll see what he can do off turn 4. He dives it to the bottom of the racetrack and then watches it back up to the top side. Still not able to make it work for him this time.
And I think you see there just how difficult it can be. I think the 39 is just still faster than that 25, but cannot find a way to try and make it happen on the bottom just now. You see him work it into 1 and 2, but he just doesn't want to go with that momentum all the way to the bottom side of the racetrack. Does he take a look this time? No, he doesn't. And again, that's how difficult it can try to be to pass. You see Donnie Leah, he's caught up to this battle for 3rd. Is Falkingham going to go for it this time? He'll go to the bottom side, but there you see 25 rockets off the top on exit, and Donnie Leah. Now Falkingham has to go up to protect the 4th position.
Yeah, you can't be staying to the bottom of the racetrack too long. Otherwise, you will lose that outside opening that you have saved for yourself through the corner. Donnie Leah is trying to fill the hole, fill the gap between him and Falkingham, but Daniel is quick enough to get to the top side of the racetrack and hold his position inside the top 5 right now. But still, Donnie Leah, Justin Fuller, Brian Fallon, and Daniel Falkingham, a hard charging battle for these 3 drivers as they come down the back straightaway once again.
And into the corners, but a big moment back here in the pack. Kyle Taraska and Richard Beasley running for about 19th. Taraska had to check up there. Right in front of him was Thomas O'Leary. And, Taylor, these are 2 drivers that really came in and needed some great runs to try and move their way forward. Taraska sitting just 2 points, as we mentioned earlier, below the cut line. And you see Richard Beasley directly behind him. Must-win situation for the driver of the 10, and I think for these guys running back in traffic, they don't appear to have the speed that I'm sure they would like, as they nearly make contact there for the 19th spot, as there's a vicious battle going on in front of them between 2 non-playoff contenders. And both Timothy Johnson and Kyle Taraska able to make his way by for 18th. But I think this is where you get into desperation mode here a little bit, Taylor, as far as strategy is concerned for some of these guys. They don't appear to have the speed to try and go up there and win this race.
And Taraska is a very detrimental because he was our pole sitter at the start of tonight's race, as we now have a caution here at Bristol Motor Speedway.
And I believe it's in the middle of 3 and 4, and I think I heard the name Don Runkle Jr. perhaps involved in that one, and we'll have to take a look. But nevertheless, caution flag comes out once again. Actually, no, this starts well in front of when Don Runkle Jr. arrived on the scene. This is Shane Ewing, unfortunately caught up once again, and I think this is the classic case, Taylor, of what Bristol can provide, especially with how dominant the top side is. You have a driver in Shane Ewing who's trying to get to the top side. You have Scott Stenzel who's rolling there on the top, gets a little bit loose, and that is how you see an accident that is actually pretty dangerous here. Along in the middle of the straightaway, and it doesn't really allow these drivers anywhere to go by the time they get to 3 and 4. You'll see it here on your screen.
Yeah, one of the worst things is when you see a blocked track for these drivers, nowhere to go. You kind of have to hope you hit the brakes and hope nobody else will hit you from the rear end. It's very detrimental. It can be very risky, but it can also prevent saving your engine as well as saving your car if no one hits you from the rear end. So some of those drivers got a lucky break, others not so much. So we'll have to see how they are able to fare once they come down pit road to get repairs done, or will they be able to continue to race through the field?
Yeah, it really looks like a 3-car accident right there. He's able to squeeze his way on by, but it was really just the 2 drivers we mentioned, and then heavy damage for the Transervice Chevrolet of Glenn Campbell. He takes a pretty nice knock into the radiator of his machine, so he will be worse for the wear once things are all said and done here. However, we did open pit road. Not a lot of the leaders elected to come down, but Donnie Leah able, or at least willing, to roll the dice along with a couple of these guys. He comes down, and I believe, yes, he does. He gets 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles put on his machine. Gale Brooks, another playoff contender that so far has not had a lot to write home about, but he is right now scored on the lead lap back in the 18th position. He'll take the gamble and try to get back here in a position where he can try to battle, as well as you see Ejer O'Rourke. He narrowly escaped that, and he's going to try to come down pit road as well. And I think you see the true split here, Taylor, because there's so many ways this thing can go here with these tire limits. Obviously, a lot of these guys that are coming down pit road right now, O'Rourke actually not going to put tires on at the moment. He's just going to try to make some repairs on his 41 car. But you see Gale Brooks, a couple of playoff contenders who are outside the picture. This is really their last chance to try and make something happen. And you know, they may have one set left on pit road, but if we go green here for a good stretch of time, they may be in a good position to try to make up some ground on some of our race leaders.
But the question is, will they be able to continue if we have a long green flag run? So far, none of these drivers that are out towards the front of the field have not pitted since lap 65. So it's going to be interesting to see how long they can be able to stay out and keep going. We haven't even approached that mark closely yet for Adam Gilliland and Justin Fuller, who pitted around that same period. But we're going to also keep track of those drivers such as Donnie Leah, Gale Brooks, to see what they can do. They're going to be pretty quick at first, but once time rolls around and we still stay under green, those tires will even out just a little bit.
They will eventually even out, but for right now, look for those drivers to pounce and pounce quickly, as Adam Gilliland will get us started here once again as we are approaching pretty closely the halfway point of this race. Gilliland into turns 1 and 2, as you see 2, almost 3 wide behind them. Gilliland and Fuller able to sort it out, but still a pretty vicious battle back in the pack. You see 3 wide around the Ejer O'Rourke machine, and one car is sliding through 3 and 4, but able to keep it going. Oh, but he'll tag one on the front straightaway, and the caution flag is out. It was Nelson Rivera who got awfully loose in 3 and 4. He was able to save it, but not before he came up into the 44 car as he was trying to collect his Verizon wireless Ford Mustang. He tags Glenn Campbell. He has not had a night that, you know, he could be very happy with. Obviously involved in that last caution through no fault of his own, and you see the 44 right there, just an innocent bystander. He gets tagged in the inside wall, and we'll see a quick caution flag here once again for the 4th time tonight.
Well, as the old adage goes, cautions breed cautions, and once again we are under caution here at Bristol Motor Speedway, and we'll have to now see what some of the front runners will do. Will they decide now to come down pit road, realizing we could be going caution back to back for the next few laps here? So it may be a good time to consider coming down pit road to get damage repairs at least, but also it could be also a great time not to come down pit road having these cautions, because it saves their tires, especially if the chance we get late cautions after a long green flag run to get fresh tires for them to have a shot of taking home a checkered flag here at the last great Coliseum.
I was about to say, Taylor, this is one of those situations where once you make your bed, you kind of have to lay in it. And, you know, I think these guys, by staying out after about that 40 or 50 or so green flag laps that we've seen over this previous run, if you pit now, you pretty much admit that your strategy was wrong, but worse than that, you pretty much just lose all the track position, but you don't get any of the benefit of having fresher tires. If you pit now, all those guys that really just put, a single lap or two on their tires, which is pretty much nothing, all you do is surrender some ground, surrender some track position to those drivers. So this is one thing that, as iRacing has introduced the tire limits, it's just one of those gambles that you have to take, that if you're right, or once you decide to stay out, well, in this situation, your mind is pretty much made up. You're going to have to stay out for a while to justify keeping that second set of tires on pit road.
I agree with you 100%. We'll have to see what everybody decides to do, but I think it's going to be what we were just talking about. Everybody up towards the top 10 is staying out, not going to come down pit road this time around. We may see them come maybe around 150 to maybe 175, but for right now, our top 5 as well, all the way towards Richard Beasley, Donnie.
You look to the left side of your screen. Some of you may be wondering, especially those on the Twitch side of things, what exactly is going on in terms of broadcasting on Podium 2. I won't call it the dose just yet, but we're over here on Podium 2 tonight for continuing coverage of the Sim500 Transervice Cup Series, as we have all season long. But you look on the left side of your screen, a dual feed on Podium Esports as they cover the Monday Night Racing League tonight, the season finale for that. As you see, they're running super late models at the Nashville Fairgrounds. And I have to say, Taylor, of a lot of new iRacing content that has come out, Nashville, definitely an A+ in my book. A very, very fun racetrack to go to. Ooh, big crash in that race.
It's a very fun and exciting track. A lot of great racing has happened there over the decades. Of course, you have one of the greatest short track races there, the All-American 400, but also a lot of NASCAR history there. I mean, when they were announced that they had, as we are under green flag once again.
Green flag is out once again, and since Adam Gilliland wrestled away the lead from Brian Fallon on pit road, he has kept it ever since. But now, again, we start to see, are we going to get that long green flag run where all those drivers that came down and got tires, are they going to be a factor? Can Justin Fuller try to make his way back up as he is trying to hang on to Adam Gilliland? And you know, Taylor, we talked about how dominant that top side is, and you can see Fuller starting to make up a little bit of ground, but Gilliland, as soon as he gets out of the race lead, he goes to the bottom side of the racetrack. Why do you think that's so?
He's trying everything that he can right now, but Gilliland's working a great job with that middle groove as he's trying to then get the corner exit off a little bit better than Justin Fuller. And surprisingly, he's doing a great job of holding it off. Fuller's struggling a little bit with that outside group by the looks of things, which is allowing Daniel Falkingham actually to gain a little bit of ground on him.
And Falkingham definitely no slouch when it comes to the short tracks here in Sim500 competition. He's been awfully strong, and I know we spoke with him on the program last week in Victory Lane, and you know, he was just excited to come out and race at a track without worry, mind you, that he enjoys coming out to and feels like he can have a pretty strong run as well. Between our top 3 right there, you see Fuller 2 wins on the season, Daniel Falkingham 5, and Adam Gilliland 7. So if I can do math in my head real quick, 14 of the 25 wins so far this year in Sim500 competition have come amongst these top 3. And Adam Gillen, he's made a pretty good margin, about 5 or 6 car lengths over Justin Fuller, but Falkingham all over the back of him looking for second.
Yeah, he's doing a great job and a great performance as we have already just passed the halfway point.
We passed the halfway point, and we want to remind you as we cross the halfway point of tonight's race, it's time to bring you the iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing. iRacing, the world's premier online racing game, puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in Australian supercars, IndyCar, IMSA, NASCAR, the World of Outlaws, the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and much more. So here's your full field rundown as we continue to click things off here from the last great Coliseum. It is Adam Gillen who is up to first. How about it? Sean Casto, one of those drivers on fresh tires. He's on the march in second. Brian Macklin is on that strategy as well. He's up to third. Justin Fuller shuffled back to fourth. Fifth is Daniel Falkingham. Sixth goes to Mike Kelly. Seventh is Donnie Leah. Eighth goes to Trey Edson. Ninth is Brian Fallon. And 10th is Nick Cohan.
Currently sitting in 11th position is Tommy Ryan, followed by Kyle Taraska in 12th position. 13th is Chad Coleman, followed by Eric Arnold, 14th. Josh Parker is currently sitting in the 15th position, followed by Nick Silver, 16th. 17th is Thomas O'Leary, the 4th, followed by Richard Beasley in 18th. 19th is Chad Cole, and rounding out your top 20, Gale Brooks.
21st goes to Scott Simley. 22nd, looking to rebound, is EJ O'Rourke. 23rd is Timothy Johnston with heavy damage. 24th is Nelson Rivera. 25th goes to Randy Yoakum. 26th is David Comstock, the last driver scored on the lead lap. Joey Jatina in 27th. 28th goes to Doug Roth. 29th is Jeff Shrewsbury, and 30th goes to Scott Stenzel.
31st, 2 laps down will be Don Ruckles Jr., followed by Glenn Campbell in 30 seconds. 33rd will be Shane Ewing, followed by Jeff Ryan in 34th. 35th will be John Borst. In 36th will be Jason Burham. Anthony DeBarro is also DNF. He is going to finish 37th tonight.
And that is your full field rundown, and it concludes tonight's iRacing Midway Race Break with over 170,000 drivers on the service and over 90 laser scan tracks and cars to choose from. iRacing is your portal to the racing world. Get on track today at iRacing.com. And while we were covering our Midway Race Break, big changes up front as the drivers on fresh tires are on the march. Sean Casto and Brian Macklin have opened up over a 2-second gap already over Mike Kelly, another driver who took tires and on his way through the field, Taylor.
That's what happens when you put fresh rubbers on. They are going to be definitely faster than the rest of the field right now as we start to see our drivers such as Adam Gillen, Justin Fuller, Daniel Falkingham all just dropping like flies due to the fact of the old tires. But this will come in handy later on down the road when if we have a late caution, if they decide to get fresh tires, will have 2 sets while the rest of the field currently has 1.
It'll get interesting, but I think you start to go into territory about, well, obviously laps click on quickly here at Bristol, and you have to think of a myriad of factors that come into play right now. The amount of fuel that some of these guys have, whether they can make it all the way to the end if they stayed out or not. And then obviously one thing that comes to mind, Taylor, is you have to think Casto and Macklin are just marching on through the field right now. That last time by for Sean Casto, your race leader in the Speed Energy Chevrolet, 15.337 was his lap time. Adam Gillen, he's about a half a second off of that pace. So do we run into territory here? If we go green long enough, you might start to see Sean Casto start to lap some of those drivers that were just at the front of the field.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what can happen for these drivers as they work their way up, as well as with this fresh tires, as well as the old tires. They could balance out towards the end of a long run if we so happen to get it, but for till then, these drivers are going to be struggling for grip, struggling for pace, as these cars with the fresher tires are going to just pull away and work their way through lap traffic. And it's also a risk for these drivers who are on older tires. They could possibly go a lap down due to the fact of the fresh rubbers.
Yeah, I think that's something we'll have to see here as Casto starting to make his way up to a lot of these cars that elected to stay out that last time. However, they didn't have the track position that many of these drivers had. Casto will go right on by. That's the Randy Yoakum Washington Capitol Chevrolet who is getting put a lap down there. But also a battle for the lead starting to brew. Brian Macklin looking to the top side of Sean Casto. However, a long line of lap traffic. So can Macklin complete the pass before he gets to the 43? They nearly make contact on the back straightaway. They approach the lap traffic. We'll go 3 wide. Macklin looking for the lead. Oh, and they nearly touch. But Macklin, a superior move right there. And the 30 goes to the top spot here at Bristol.
What a brave and heroic move that we just saw right there. 3 wide at Bristol is something you do not want to try to attempt, but yet we just saw it here tonight.
Casto goes around. He was up in second. Brian Macklin gets into lap traffic, and unfortunately it shoots Sean Casto into the inside retaining wall. The caution flag is out. And, you know, that may not have been good doing for either Macklin or Casto. Obviously, Casto, heavy damage on his 52 machine. But that huge advantage that they possess with the fresh tires, that is all gone now. And they either have to pit or get up to the field. So the strategy works against them as the caution flag comes out. And that is not what you wanted to see if you were either Sean Casto, but especially Brian Macklin.
No, that is something you don't want to see at all. This could be good, though, for some of our drivers who have not yet pitted yet, such as Adam Gilliland, Daniel Falkingham, and Justin Fuller. This could give them the opportunity to make that needed pit stop and get some fresh tires, and then they will probably swap positions with these drivers who are up towards the front of the field currently.
We'll have to see that now as you see Casto trying to get going straight, but again, heavy damage on his very beautifully painted Speed Energy Chevrolet. Adam Gilliland has to make his way onto pit road, and he's going to bring a long line of cars behind them. And lucky for many of these guys that they didn't end up seeing that long run. They didn't go a lap down. So this is all going to reverse and work into the favor of these cars that you see pacing along here, right along the inside wall here at Bristol. It is worth mentioning that in real life, you will see these drivers work both ends of the racetrack when it comes to pit road. You have to enter in turn 2, and you'll have to exit at the entrance of turn 2, or entrance of turn 1 rather, and go around both pit roads under caution. Well, here in the iRacing service, you have to do that under green as well. So green flag pit stops in particular, very, very costly. You do not want to have to do that because you have to go down both pit roads, whether it's caution or green flag. So these guys are able to come down, get service, and they are going to be in a pretty good position when we get things going. So just under 100 laps to go here from the Bristol Motor Speedway. We'll go side by side once again, as you won't miss a thing here as we pace under the caution flag for the 6th time this evening in the Sim500 Transervice Cup Series playoffs.
Coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson. Unbelievable finish. It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead. Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Aloma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett Lowe. 4 wide at the stripe. For all he's with here on this outside line, neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out?
Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line.
And we're back green here once again as we're working lap 156 of 250 here at the Bristol Motor Speedway. And like we were mentioning before, Adam Gilliland gets into Justin Fuller. That's going to send the 99 of Tommy Ryan around in a big wreck off the exit of turn 4. And that happened all around the 81 machine of Adam Gilliland, who got loose there on the bottom as they were starting to make their way up with those fresh tires. They go 3 wide. He gets into Fuller, and there's nowhere for the he gets turned around. And I was going to have to welcome the newest member of our broadcast booth into the broadcast, and I'll go ahead and just hand it to you here, Mr. Pulsatrix, if I can get that right, and give you some analysis there of what happened.
Miss Pulsatrix, but thank you. Yeah, but what an interesting time to pop into the race here. Right after we get green flag, looks like the 81 gets a little bit squirrely on the apron, isn't able to save it before heading into the turn, and just unfortunately scoops up the 99, and everyone behind them has to try their best to dodge the wreck in front of them. And that's the thing about Bristol. Beyond just, being a very narrow, small circuit, it's very dangerous to even just get off the concrete, because the apron down there, the banking is so high. Once you get down on there, you just instantly lose traction, and you have to be hanging on for dear life if you want to be able to try and save that.
It's definitely a hard thing to balance. And of course, you got to, mention you're on cold tires, you're on brand new tires that you just put on that race car, and you have to build up that heat in. And unfortunately, for many of these drivers, Adam Gilliland not able to hold on to his race car, and it works out for the driver, the 81, who's able to keep on rolling here, albeit with a little bit of damage. But particularly for Tommy Ryan, not what he wanted to see, especially for a driver that, again, as we mentioned here, Strix, is the fact that we had so many drivers right around the playoff cutoff, and Tommy Ryan was one of those. He's tied for fifth on the playoff grid, but only 13 points ahead of being eliminated. So this is not what that 99 wanted to see.
Absolutely not. In the middle of these races here, there's still quite a few laps to go, but you don't want to end up with a wrecked car right in the middle of the race, because for all you know, that could just put you way back in the near the end of the pack. But then again, this is Bristol. A lot of people are going to be taking damage. A lot of people are going to get involved in wrecks, whether they cause it or not, or just end up getting unlucky. And these drivers are going to try and it's a balance between driving cautiously and driving aggressively. You don't want to drive so defensively that you're not advancing any positions and putting yourself in a place to win the race, but you also don't want to race so aggressively that you're running with a full head of steam into the middle of a wreck. So it's a definitely interesting strategy you're going to have to be playing here at Bristol.
So hard, and we've seen that play out before our very eyes with a lot of these drivers through virtue of the long green flag run we had. Some came down pit road, some did not, and that's why you see such a shuffle up at both the front and the middle parts of the field right now. You have plenty of drivers that are about 20 to 30 laps on older tires in the back, or in the front of the field rather, and then of course fresh tires in the back. And obviously they're not sorting it out very well. As we get 90 laps to go here, Brian Macklin will lead us to the green flag once again. He has another playoff contender, and Trey Edson directly behind him, looking to try to make his way forward and make up some points. They're side by side with Mike Kelly for second as they nearly make contact. The Haviland Ford up the racetrack, but move that 20 up into the second spot.
Macklin is definitely making work up at the front, while the two behind him, Eidson and Kelly, battle it out to try and sort things out. Finally, they got single file. Maybe Kelly going a little bit under, trying to get that pass done, trying to get a move. But with those two fighting through the corners, Macklin is able to speed right away with clean air and a clean racing line, either going top or bottom, whichever runs fastest for him. We see the, what number is that? I think it's a 29, or the 39 rather, of Falkingham actually shooting way up into third place, right ahead of Kelly.
And that's one of those drivers that came down and got 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles just before this caution flag came out, and you can see the dividends that it is paying right now as Falkingham now already all over the back bumper of the 30, and I don't think there's much that Macklin can do. He's going to have to surrender the race lead as Falkingham goes to the top spot. But you see behind you a huge gaggle of cars, 2 wide, about 5 or 6 rows deep. But the caution flag is displayed as they junk it up here at the bottom of turn 1. A couple of cars involved there, and it looks like it may have involved Adam Gilliland. You see Shane Ewing once again, a really, really tough night for the driver of the 32 as he's yet another caution flag. But we'll have to see exactly where that started. I think it actually started all the way up here on the front straightaway. And yeah, there you see it. You see the 25 of Fallon spinning around and a couple of cars, heavy damage after some contact here on the front stretch.
Yeah, it seemed as though the 25 was just not slowing down for the wreck ahead of him, and it got him spooked out. The wreck happening a little bit further ahead of him. I believe it was, it was the 17 there. Spinning out ahead of the pack, and then the 25 just getting caught out, you know. A lot of these that was a very interesting incident there indeed, hitting the inside wall there. Pretty unfortunate, but this is Bristol. These kinds of things tend to happen. Very close contact on those 2 cars there, though.
Very close as Beasley and the 17 get together on the front straightaway, and that'll bring the caution flag out once again as we work lap 169. And you know, this is awfully different than what we were seeing early on in this race, as we got our first caution flag about 50 laps into the going here, and it went about another 50 or 60 laps until we got that second caution flag. But now here, Strix, it's about 80 laps to go, count it, or give or take about 80 laps to go. And I think this is where we're starting to see what all sim racers come to fear when they pull up to Bristol, is they know that the potential for this race to turn into one of attrition is high, and I think we're starting to see that unfold here.
Absolutely, and it's like I said, you know, you don't want to drive too aggressively and you'll junk your car too early, or you don't want to do you wanted to go too defensively and then just not put yourself in a good position for the final portion of the race. But this is the portion where everybody who was defensively driving is going to start driving very aggressive, trying to adjust their pit strategies so that they can have good tires to make it all the way up to the front, charge through the pack, and try and give themselves some breathing room to take over first place. Drivers are going to have that kind of strategy, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Well, I don't want to take the announcing responsibilities away from our friends covering the race you see on the left side of your screen over at Podium Esports. I don't want to take the announcing away from them, but again, you see super late models, Justin Malillo, a close battle there with the 46, and oh man, Nashville Fairgrounds, a hidden gem. I don't know if you necessarily want to call it hidden, but such a great racetrack that is a lot of fun to wheel around. Multiple grooves, you can go low, go high, especially in those super late models. It makes those races exciting. So make sure you get an extra tab open if you're following along here with coverage of the Sim500 Transervice Cup Series playoffs, and you can also ride along here and kind of get at least a listen over what's going on over there for the Monday Night Racing League season finale. But we'll go ahead and turn our attention over here once again. It'll be Brian Macklin and Daniel Falkingham now, who has chosen the outside line, the first leader to do so tonight, as we're going to approach 88 laps to go. And Daniel Falkingham, 78 laps to go rather, as Falkingham gets away. A great restart for the driver of the 39 as he scurries away. And here comes, how about this, Kyle Tarasca. Big trouble for him early on, and he's now battling for second.
This is a fantastic race and a fantastic restart for Falkingham, having taken those new tires on his previous pit strategy, and it's paying massive dividends. He is surging to the front with over a half-second gap just this soon after the restart, and the rest of the group trying desperately to claw that time back, as Tarasca and Gilliland are now fighting against each other, going side by side, trying to one trying to get ahead of another, and we have another caution, it seems.
We certainly do. The caution flag flying once again. I've lost count here because they've all been rapid fire so quickly, but I think we're going to have to look around the Jeff Shrewsbury machine. As there you see perhaps another entry into the modified class here tonight, as he was already having a rough go of it, but it appears a little bit of contact here on the back straight. I believe it was with Reed Holcomb. Not going to help the handling of that splash and go graphics forward, and there you see a little bit of side contact, and you really think, Strix, that, you think of Bristol, you think of dangerous contact, you think of guys shoving each other into the corner, but it's really those swipes on the door because of the way the pit road wall sits that can be particularly dangerous, as you see a heavy hit there for the 7.
Absolutely. It seems the 7 was expecting the other driver to be a little bit further up the track, but of course there was a car straight in front of him. There was nowhere for him to go. He wanted to make that pass, so the 7 unfortunately making a bad prediction of where the other driver was going to be, and that sent him into this side wall. But yeah, you are right. Like, this is a narrow track where the wall comes up on you quick. You don't have a whole lot of time to try and save your car. And even if you do try to correct your slide before you hit that wall, you're just going straight back into the track. So it's a darned if you do, darned if you don't kind of situation there. But hopefully the number 7 can get that damage fixed, or get some of it fixed at least, and continue rolling forward.
We'll see how much he's able to repair on his Ford Mustang as we continue to ride under the caution flag here. Once again, another update that we were talking about. Of course, we can't mention this race without mentioning the playoff picture and how important that is when we were talking about everything that's going on with this race. And a couple of names that we haven't necessarily mentioned tonight, and I don't think that's necessarily for a good reason. I know Gail Brooks was one driver, 15th coming into tonight in the playoff grid, and he really needed to come in here and make some noise, but just hasn't had the speed. And obviously that Taco Town machine not having a good go of it tonight, not clean, a little bit of damage there, and running back in the 21st position. So Gail Brooks obviously in a position that he may very well be eliminated. We talked about Kevin Brown was below the cut line as well. He hasn't pulled a lap tonight. He was unofficially scored 38th on the grid, but has not pulled his car onto the racetrack. So safe to say that Kevin Brown and his hopes to win a championship here this season are done. Kyle Taraska, he was below the cut line, but obviously running up in the 3rd position and doing a lot to try and help his cause to move into the round of 12. And Chad Coleman, another driver that we haven't mentioned so much tonight, but the one thing about Chad Coleman's car, Strix, is it's about as clean as any of those names that we were just popping off. He may be running back here in 13th, but one thing, that simracingshirts.com Chevrolet is clean, and that's an accomplishment in itself when you come here to Bristol, and especially with all the cautions we've been having.
Absolutely. We're well beyond halfway for this race at Bristol, and seeing a car look like it's just off the showroom floor is a bit of a rarity at this point. Even the cars near them you see in front and behind, there's the cars with some sense of damage. As we go to the green flag, Falkingham gets a humongous start once again, and Gilliland and Kohan are going neck and neck through the turns to try and claw back their way, and it seems like they have. They're getting right close up to Falkingham.
They are starting to pull up, but the battles are really taking place from about 8th on back, as you see Trey Edson starting to get drop kicked to the back of the field, as he is now kind of in the middle and getting freight trained here. You see it happen a lot of times at Bristol on the bottom, but now the top is where you want to be. Justin Fuller starting to make his way by. He was caught up in an accident just a number of laps ago, and here he is on the bottom battling Richard Beasley, one of those drivers that's in a must-win situation to advance. EJ O'Rourke directly in front of them. He's close to the cutoff. Oh, and it's close racing right there.
I think I saw a car sideways. I'm not sure. We still are under... Oh, there's the yellow.
I was about to say, I think you're right.
Yeah, that was the number 8. Going sideways straight through the corner. I had thought since it was still green flag that he had saved it somehow, and the way that car was pitched sideways, I was like, geez, you probably sign up for Formula Drift there.
Oh man, Thomas O'Leary had one heck of a save, but unfortunately, I think he had it collected, but just merged back into traffic just a little bit. He's tagged by the 99. He hits the 14 as well and does a little bit of a half spin here down the back straightaway. We'll take a look at it one more time. Works off of corner number 4, getting down into turn 1. I think you see a little bit of a checkup here. As we'll work actually another lap around. He's behind the 20, and I think that's where you're going to see everything start with this accident. He gets in the back of the 20, causes him to check up. You're going to see him have a handle on his race car for just a couple of moments. There you see, never stops driving it, but unfortunately just merges back into traffic into the 99.
You hate to see it. He had it saved and everything. It's just there was no room for him to merge back on track, and unfortunately that ends up with a yellow flag for the entire course. But good job trying to save that car before merging in the first place, because I thought that car was a goner with the angle it was getting through the corner. So good job on the number 8 for saving it, but unfortunately that was just a little bit unlucky.
You know, I'm going to be interested if we can check after this race to see the incident count marker. It's always interesting to read after a night or any race on iRacing at Bristol, but I think it'll be particularly interesting to see if any driver out here, out of the 37 or so that took the green flag, are able to find a way to not score a single incident point. It'd be an accomplishment in itself, as a couple of drivers will make their way onto pit road. Tommy Ryan, a driver we were mentioning, he had a little bit of damage to fix. He'll get 4 fresh tires, and Ryan scored 5th in the points coming in, just 13 above the cut line. Needs to find his way forward to try and help his cause as far as that is concerned. But now we're in this weird situation here, Strix, where we talk about the tire limits. Many of these drivers who have still stayed out on the racetrack, they have that one set left, and this is probably one of the tougher things to decide, because obviously we've had a lot of caution flags. I think the odds we get some more are pretty high, but if we were to go green the rest of the way, the drivers that are coming down and getting tires now, they're by far going to be in the best position to try and win this race.
Absolutely. Tire limitations are probably the most difficult thing to deal with, because it heavily emphasizes your pit strategy. You need to be timing yourself just right, and timing your pit strategy just right, and also making sure that you are, you want to make sure that you're not screwing yourself over. If there's a yellow flag later on in the run, other people are going to be taking new tires and then just surging right by you. So with some of these teams going like with one tire set left, you have 190 laps out of 250, so that's about 60 laps you got left. It's really hard to tell when you should be going into the pits at the right time, but I guess we'll see what strategy pays off here as we go green.
Well, I know the strategy that Daniel Falkingham had certainly worked for him on this restart, as he's able to rock it out to about a 2 or 3 car length lead over Adam Gillen, who has recovered all the way from about that half spin that we saw roughly 30 or 40 laps ago. And he's now up in the 2nd position. Kyle Tarasca holding on to 3rd. But I think this is where you're going to start to see a lot of those drivers that came down pit road. They may have their opportunity. As a name we haven't mentioned once tonight, Nick Silver, up into the top 5 of this race. And again, he's a playoff contender. He needs a good run tonight. And, he is emerging at the right time. And, of all the cars that I see up here at the front of the field, relatively clean on that Coke Zero Sugar Ford.
Absolutely, and as we have mentioned before, it's very rare that you see a very clean car at this stage of the race with less than 60 laps left. This car, we have a caution here, I think, but as we were talking about keeping your car clean and whatnot, but this track is very difficult to try and keep your car clean and undamaged, so you have the maximum amount of power out of your engine, maximum amount of power out of your drivetrain, etc., etc.
And what a nice spin for Brian Fallon, who again started up at the front of the field, led a good portion of this race, but it has just not been the same since he fell back into traffic. Comes back in after getting a little bit loose off of 4, tries to do everything he can to save it, and actually that's going to be the end of the night for Brian Fallon as he pulls it into the garage, and his night is going to be over. So you really hate to see what was a fantastic run for a non-playoff contender. Unfortunately, he does tag Don Runkle Jr. On his way by. Scott Stenzel gets some heavy damage, and my goodness, Glenn Campbell just cannot catch a break tonight. He gets into another wreck where he really had nowhere to go. But some more trouble for Brian Fallon, and what was once a very promising night where perhaps he could come here, run very strong, and maybe even get a win here tonight. It's certainly going to end that way as he pulls it into the garage.
Absolutely true. And it's like I said earlier in the broadcast, when you're trying to save the car down on the apron on the front or back stretch, you have a very small amount of time to be able to catch that car and bring it back straight. And you run the risk of just driving your car straight back into the other side of the track where all the other cars are. And unfortunately, that's what played out here. We just saw the 25 in the Folger Chevrolet just unfortunately like catch the car for a bit, and then it just kept going and going and going into I believe it was turn 1. And unfortunately pulled the caution out. But Falkingham looks like he's going to be taking maybe the inside with regards to, or maybe he'll probably be taking the outside, actually. He's been doing so. Yeah, there he goes. And we'll be getting ready for the race restart in a couple laps.
And we'll be coming to the 2 to go as the lights stay on atop the iRacing.com Mustang pace car. If you're just joining us, you've missed a lot. That's all I can say. A very green race early on in the going. Didn't get our first caution flag until we were about a fifth of the way through, around lap 50 or 60 is when we saw the caution flag fly for the first time. But since then, the caution flag has been our friend, as have almost lost count these last 100 laps or so of how many have been run under green, how many have been run under the caution flag. But it's just one of those things about coming here to Bristol. You know that it's a possibility, and for a lot of these drivers who face the potential of elimination tonight from the playoffs, they're just doing everything they can, everything in their power to try and continue their chase to try and win a championship, as they'll try to look forward to the round of 12 and Las Vegas next week. But it'll be, once again, as Strix was mentioning, Daniel Falkingham will take the outside line once again, Adam Gilliland to the inside, and of course you have Kyle Tarasco in third, but that 48 in an awfully advantageous position there on the high side. He'll restart in fourth as we'll take the green flag with 51 laps to go. Who's going to win, and can we stay green? We'll find that out as Daniel Falkingham will bring us back to the green flag. A 2 or 3 car length lead is what he sports off the corner number 2. Adam Gilliland able to escape for second, but right now the battle is on for third. Nick Silver to the top side, and it looks like Kyle Tarasco almost was able to clear the 48. Can he do it this time? He does. Tarasco to third.
That was a fantastic effort from Tarasco to try and get ahead of the 48 before he was able to get a run on the outside. And we've got another yellow, the number 31 car, unfortunately sideways on, I believe, the backstretch there, having issues trying to get it going and finally getting off track. Eric Arnold, unfortunately, probably lost control. Turn 4 from what you can see. As we go back a little bit and watch, getting a little loose off of turn 4, heading straight into the wall. And, you know, like, hitting that hard, coming out of turn 1, practically perpendicular, you know, your car is going to be pretty hurt after that.
It is, as he calls the tow truck, and I believe his night is actually going to be over. He'll pull it behind the wall, and his night is done. And it's interesting because the setup that the drivers are running in, I was able to drive a little bit earlier, and you know, one thing I didn't really see happening, Strix, was that these drivers were going to get loose off the corner. It's pretty tight. Especially if you can ride it up the racetrack and try and use that high line. But it's certainly something that we've seen time and time again, especially on cold tires, that if you're on the bottom side, where obviously not a lot of banking to try and catch the race car, you're on cold tires and trying to get them heated up, you can run into some issues. And we've seen a fair amount of drivers just not get any contact, just flat out lose it here and spin it out and bring out some cautions.
Absolutely. Cold tires and cold tires and throttle on these cars isn't really a good mix. From what I notice in most of these cars is that when you're on cold tires at Bristol, the rear tires don't like throttle input all that much. So that's probably what happened there. Is you just got loose, got a little too greedy on the throttle, and wasn't able to recover it. But unfortunately, those are the kind of things you got to adapt to when you're driving these cars at this track, especially when you only have like a few sets of tires and whatnot to go with. You have to keep in mind that not only the track conditions and like the weather conditions and whatnot, you also have to keep in mind like the condition of your own car, like how is the car behaving? Is it loose or is it tight as a result of damage? And then on top of that, just like your tire condition and everything. It's a lot to keep in mind. And this late in the race, some people might be getting tired, and then you just kind of end up forgetting about all that.
You certainly do, but it just plays into the challenge that is racing here at Bristol Motor Speedway. Your top 10 right now as they run: Daniel Falkingham, Adam Gilliland, two of the best. They have nearly half, that's right, half of the races that they've competed in this year they have won. Falkingham with 5 wins. He won last week at Richmond. Adam Gilliland leads the series with 7 and now looking for an 8th win this year. Kyle Taraska still holding strong in the Chick-fil-A Toyota in 3rd. Nick Silver has not left the top 5 since he entered there. He's running in 4th. Justin Fuller started up front. He stayed there most of the night in 5th. 6th goes to Brian Macklin. 7th to Nick Cohan. 8th actually goes to EJ O'Rourke, who is rebounding after getting shuffled in the back of the pack after a couple of accidents. He's on the march forward. Chad Cole and Nelson Rivera will round out the top 10. So we will try and see how much longer we can go. We'll restart with exactly 45 laps to go as Falkingham wrestled the lead away from Brian Fallon early in the race. He has not surrendered it since, and he's not going to surrender it soon as he gets another great restart off the top side of the racetrack. Adam Gilliland able to clear himself to 2nd, and once again, side by side, broken record between Silver and Taraska for 3rd.
Falkingham has been absolutely on it for his restarts. I have not seen him falter once, no misshifts, nothing, and it's been oh, and we got another caution just after the green flag restart here. It seems a bit of a mix-up through turn 3 and 4, I believe. Donnie Leah, unfortunately, involved in that, as well as multiple others. There were too many to count, but this is quite an unfortunate series of events. Once again, we'll have the opportunity to have a great restart.
It's definitely hard for a couple of playoff contenders, as we saw Leah, as have a lot of drivers tonight, just got loose on the straightaway, and unfortunately he's going to take a handful of contenders with him. Chad Coleman, we were talking about his simracingshirts.com Chevrolet being clean tonight. Well, that is the case no longer. He gets tagged in this Richard Beasley must-win situation. This is not going to go a long way towards helping that cause, as he gets shoved and gets major damage on his Tide Ford. Actually has some smoke billowing out of that number 10 Ford Mustang, so not good for Richard Beasley, who gets caught up in that accident. But once again, in the Strix, this is something we were talking about earlier. Donnie Leah, an ace at the short tracks. You think if there's one place here on iRacing that he is really going to show off his skills, it would be on the short tracks, and even he's a victim to just get it and just getting a little bit loose on those cold tires, and he loops it in the back of the field.
Well, that is the thing with short tracks is, every single one is just, it has a different character, a different personality, and you have to adapt to those personalities. And Bristol is a different animal entirely, concrete track service, a really aggressive transition from the banking down to the apron. With cold tires going on concrete, it's really, really difficult to try and gauge how much throttle you really have and how much grip you really have, especially because the banking through the corners is so extreme. So when you get down to the flat and you try and correct your slide or something like that, if you get a little bit loose, it's actually a lot more difficult than it seems. But those kind of things happen, you know. It'll even catch the most expert of short track drivers off guard with the way that Bristol just seems to be. It's just an entirely different animal.
It certainly is, and despite the fact that we've had a number of caution flags over the last 100 laps or so, we've still clicked along pretty quickly here, and that's just a product of Bristol as well, that it can just go very, very fast in the blink of an eye. As soon as we get, I mean, you think about it, if we get a green flag run here, we'll be done in about 10 minutes. But of course, I'll knock on wood after I say that to try and help these drivers move along once again. So it'll be Daniel Falkingham out front, as he has been since he took the lead away from Fallon early on in the race. But I think worth reporting is how many drivers have brought it behind the wall. Eric Arnold, Jeff Ryan, Glenn Campbell, Scott Stenzel, Brian Fallon, Don Runkle Jr., Shane Ewing, Josh Parker, John Borst, Jason Barham, Anthony DeBarro, all drivers that will not see the checkered flag, 11 in total. And we'll have to see if Donnie Leah, he probably has too much damage to continue. He may be a 12th one. So the field starting to slowly but surely dwindle themselves down as we continue to have some accidents. Falkingham will once again get us going as he's able to rocket out to the lead. Tarasca cycled back to the top side, and he is looking for a spot in third. He's able to find it, but now looking low on Gilliland for second. Side-by-side battle is between Fuller and Silver for fourth. Here comes Nick Cohan looking to get back into the top five.
The pack is able to keep just a little bit closer to Falkingham this time. Possible that Falkingham's tires are starting to go just a little bit. But as the racing behind him goes strong, we see Gilliland and Tarasca chasing him right down. They're right on his bumper, ready to take up any advantage they can have. With as we go on board with Gilliland here, going down on the inside, trying to get a run on the outside, but Falkingham has it as he goes outside throughout turns 1 and 2. And this is going to be a fantastic finish if we keep going green here.
It reminds you a lot of the two best cars, the two best drivers on the track tonight, going to battle a couple of nights ago at Bristol. Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch put on a heck of a show for all the fans that were in attendance and those on TV as well. And I think we're seeing that play out in front of our eyes right now. Gilliland electing to take the bottom side, which is known to be kind of the tire-saving line. So he's trying his best to stay within striking distance of Falkingham, but not do enough to run out those tires. You also have to mention that they do have one set left on pit road should they come down and pit. However, that may allow some other drivers to try and capitalize on strategy if we get another yellow flag. And as I say that, we have a monstrous crash here in turn 1. Brian Macklin is involved. The 52 of Sean Casto is parked here. Trey Edson is able to escape, but that is a huge crash, lots of smoke, and a couple of drivers are going to be out of it after this one. Macklin perhaps getting the worst of it. Thomas O'Leary's involved. David Comstock. Stu Hadley sitting on pit road. Big accident in the middle of 1 and 2.
Yeah, it seemed to have been caused by just a severe checkup out of nowhere. There was a massive speed difference between those two cars that I saw there. I think it was the number 20 and the number 30. Just all of a sudden, just a massive drop-off. I think, let's see here. Oh, the 2 gets loose. The 2 gets loose in front of the 20. The 20 checks up, and then there's not enough time to react, and it just causes a chain reaction that just a massive wreck. Lots of cars here involved. You hate to see it.
We really do. It's unfortunate because, again, every time it seems that we can try to get that green flag run that I'm sure Gilliland, Falkingham, and a couple of others want to see, we just never get to quite finish it up and see where these guys are able to go. And I believe that list that we listed off, it was 11 drivers strong before that last caution. I think that is going to get extended here. Randy adds his name to that. Joey Tatina sitting on pit road, and I think a couple of other drivers, Sean Casto being one. Mike Kelly had heavy damage on that wreck. Brian Macklin was spewing smoke, although he is still out on the racetrack trying to pace around now, scored in the 18th position. And we've just continued to add to the destruction list here at Bristol amidst all that we were talking about when it comes to drivers qualifying and not qualifying for the playoffs. And I think at this point, Kevin Brown is definitely out. I think you have to put Kyle Taraska in. Gale Brooks was able, that Taco Town Toyota is skewed. Definitely knocked the toe out on that machine, trying to pace around and get his way back in, but he was in a pretty deep hole. Don't know if he's going to be able to get out of that. And then Richard Beasley, again, a must-win situation. So it appears we would have 3 drivers. There's 3 we were just talking about: Kevin Brown, Gale Brooks, and Richard Beasley, that are pretty much in a must-win right now, or else they'll be eliminated. But that 13th spot, that 12th spot, with how many guys have had issues tonight, that bubble spot battle is going to be super close.
Could not agree more. Bristol is a fantastic shakeup for playoff cutoffs here, because anything can happen. Bristol is not necessarily it rewards consistency, but it also rewards wreck avoidance and just pure luck. You have to be confident that the drivers around you aren't going to be wrecking into you. You have to be trusting in your fellow competitors to be confident enough not to run you down and put you on a KIA list for the track. But this track definitely has its own sets of attrition, which it's really difficult to be fighting for a playoff spot and then just see your hopes get dashed away.
It's definitely one very unique and difficult challenge for these drivers. Bristol has never been a playoff cutoff race before, but I don't think Daniel Falkingham minds that too much, as he is actually in the lead. Gilliland elected to come down pit road and get 4 fresh tires, and that may cost him now, as there's another huge accident here on the back straightaway, and I believe that Gilliland is involved. He was well above the cut line, but wanted to make a move to try and win the race, and we saw 3 wide. We saw a buck from Gilliland, and to say the least, it did not work out. Shrewsbury barrel rolling here down the back straightaway. They're heavy days for Adam Gilliland.
That's absolutely unfortunate this soon after wow, what a move there. Very dangerous, aggressive move there into, I believe that was that turn 3? Or was that?
Exiting turn 2.
Exiting turn 2, yeah. So, it's a very dangerous move to be making there. Getting the bump off of the sit and go 7 and just causing a massive chain reaction. Bristol with these wrecks, they're all just chain reactions, just domino effects. You do one thing and it causes a billion other things to go wrong. So it seemed as though Gilliland, the 81 of Gilliland, I believe, was just trying to make his way through the pack, try and get up as fast as possible, but didn't quite work out for him there.
And I think that Gilliland has a little bit of a cushion here. Again, was well above, was 33 points to be exact, coming into tonight above the playoff cup. So Gilliland, pretty much through virtue of the rest of the field, all kind of wrecking themselves out. He could pull it behind the wall right now and still finish 21st. So Gilliland not going to get passed, or usurped rather, in the playoff standing. So I think he's okay as far as transferring is. Obviously, I think he just wanted to do something that was opposite the strategy of Daniel Falkingham. Falkingham in control of the race, with control of the restarts. I think Gilliland, being the experienced sim racer that he is, knew that that's just too steep an advantage to overcome without some help, and thought that getting those tires would be the antidote, but unfortunately for him it wasn't. But no harm, no foul. He's pretty much into the round of 12, but it certainly opens the door for a lot of these guys who are trying to march their way through the field on those fresh tires to try and capitalize if we can go green. Again, that's the big caveat, is we're up to about 20 laps to go here already, so you don't have a lot of time to make your way forward if we're able to stay green here.
Absolutely, and it's like I said earlier in the broadcast, I'm repeating myself over and over again, but it is a very valid point to bring up that, you need to put yourself in a good position to finish the race strong. You can't be driving too cautiously or too aggressively because then you're just going to wreck out or just be put in a bad position. And that's true for every course here, but especially in Bristol when, positioning is so important. If you want to be surging ahead, you need to be on the top line. If you want to be saving your tires and driving cautiously, you're going to be on the bottom line. And there is just so much strategy going into this race that you have to keep in mind that there are other people who are choosing their own strategies. And, it's coming down to the point where you need to have your strategy decided for the final point of the race and put yourself in contention for a win or even a podium.
It certainly is at that time, isn't it? Well, let's go ahead and get to it if it's at that time. Nick Cohan is now on the front row alongside Daniel Falkingham. Fuller now pushing him along as they'll get the restart with exactly 20 laps to go. And can Falkingham hang on, or will Fuller or Cohan mount a charge? It looks like Fuller's got a lot of speed in his Ford as he is up into 3 and 4. And what a run, what a restart that he had. He's easily away from second, and he has his eyes set on Daniel Falkingham.
Absolutely, that gap is narrowing. Of course, Falkingham having fantastic restarts, but Fuller is able to chase him down with that heavily damaged front end and rear end on that 51 car. But in any case, he's got a full head of steam going right ahead like a freight train, trying to chase Falkingham down. That gap getting a little bit bigger as it increases just to around half a second. Cohan behind him, and there's a big move from Comstock going way down deep to try and gather up a position, going side by side with O'Rourke, and it seems to have worked for him just now.
David Comstock, I believe he may be taking advantage of what we were talking about, those fresh tires. However, you see the high side starting to do their best to hang on here as Chad Cole able to hang on to Kyle Taraska, trying to find his way by. And Taraska is up in the outside retaining wall, but he's able to keep it straight. The wall almost a cushion for him as he's able to keep making the corner. But very soon, Strix, we're going to be at 10 laps to go. And right now, Falkingham continuing to pull away. And Fuller and Cohan, now they've got a nice little battle going for second.
This is all but decided unless we get another yellow flag. Falkingham has just been surging ahead. This is now a battle between Fuller and Cohan. They are getting closer and closer to each other. Cohan trying to chase Fuller down. Less than 0.2 seconds between each other now. Bumper to bumper, they're doing a fantastic job trying to find out what works, what doesn't. How can you make up the time you need to make that pass before time expires?
That's certainly the question they're asking, but one driver able to make his way forward, and I think he's going to be the big beneficiary if we get another caution flag. You're right on board with Cohan and Fuller, but Comstock is the driver that has really emerged, and he's definitely on fresher tires and faster than our race leader that last click around, but he may need some help. As now 10 laps to go here from Bristol, and Daniel Falkingham looking to go back-to-back to close out the round of 16.
Taraska and Cole are having a fantastic battle as well with the 99 of Ryan and the 41 of O'Rourke. There's a huge pack just trying to get the best position they can for the playoffs. 17 and 18, of course, going side by side still through the corners. 17 getting the run out on the outside, but the 18 catching right back up on the inside. This is a fantastic close race as we're getting down to 8 laps to go. This is a close one for sure.
It is, and you have to mention the playoff implications as Ryan in a pretty good position to advance. Taraska needs every spot available that he can get. Nick Silver also in a position where he can just kind of ride things out here and be okay. O'Rourke the same as well. Brian Macklin needs a good run. So you just have a lot of drivers right around that area that just need to get out of here. So as much as you want to race hard, you want to take care of each other at the same time. But we'll cross the stripe this time. Already 5 laps to go. Chad Cole is the one who hangs on to 5th in front of this huge pack that's running on the back straightaway. He's able to hang on, but he is definitely holding everybody up. That car is slow, but he is doing his best to hold them up on the high side for just a couple more laps.
He's doing a fantastic job trying to keep the pack behind him, but one person who will not be kept behind is Comstock right up in the 42. He's been catching up to Fuller and Kohan full steam ahead, making up humongous time while Fuller and Kohan battle it out side by side through the corners. Comstock is right behind them, ready to strike with 3 laps to go. This is getting very close, down to the wire. They need to pull all the stops, go full throttle, and try and make it up. Comstock is right on their bumper now. This could... Oh, and there's a car down low, 71.
Oh, and just before Daniel Falkingham can reach the white flag, we have a caution. I was just getting prepared to make my winner's call for Falkingham as he was coming off of turn number 4, and one driver parks here on the back straightaway after getting spun. And oh boy, does this change everything. It was Gale Brooks who unfortunately looks like he pulled it behind the wall and is going to go to the garage and is done this evening. And with it, his championship hopes are going to leave with him as well. As you saw there, he spun, tried to get out of the server. I believe he used the old Alt F4 to try to get off the racetrack, so that you see there he gets caught on the apron. And just before Falkingham can taste victory for the 6th time this season, the caution flag comes out, and now we get to really shake things up here at the end.
Absolutely, that is unfortunate. Just catching the apron, and as I mentioned before, you know, the apron at this track is especially bad. That aggressive change in banking from the apron to the actual racetrack, and of course that caught him out, and couldn't get off the track fast enough to prevent the caution. But now this is a very interesting situation indeed. We have Falkingham, who has been tremendously quick on the restarts, but we also have Fuller and Kohan, who have been battling out, trying to best each other while Falkingham drives away. And then we have Comstock behind them, who is faster than both Kohan and Fuller, likely due to some fresher tires. This is going to be a very dangerous set of laps for this group in the top 5 here. This is going to be some vicious driving.
It really is, and you know, the main question is going to come down to how good of a jump can the rest of the field get on Falkingham, because the one thing is that Nick Cohan, you think he's all the way back and forth, but he's really in the preferred line on the high side. He has those fresh tires, and if he can just time this thing correctly, he may just have an opportunity here to try and go to victory lane and steal a win from a lot of these guys that we've been talking about all night. We've been talking about playoffs and staying above the cut line. What if David Comstock could come here and try to get it and try to end up in victory lane through a little bit of strategy? We'll see if that's possible, but we'll set the field for you for what'll be the first of actually our only green-white checkered attempt. If we get to the white flag, we'll see it through. If we get a caution during this during the first lap of the restart, that will be the end of it. So if we reach the white flag, we'll race it back to the checkered. Daniel Falkingham now chooses the low line. Interesting, he hasn't been down there almost all night. He goes to the bottom, Fuller's up top, Cohan in second, Comstock on fresh tires in fourth, Chad Cole with damage trying to hang on in fifth, and Tommy Ryan is on the top of row number 2. He'll restart in sixth. A lot of playoff answers to come here in just 2 laps. Can Falkingham go back-to-back and score another win to close out the round of 16? We're about to find out. He puts the loud pedal down, and a great restart as Justin Fuller spins the tires there as they exit off of 4. That is exactly what Falkingham wanted to see as he gets down the back straightaway, 2 or 3 car lengths ahead. Bowler still hanging on in front of Comstock and Cohan for second, but it looks like it's going to be enough. White flag in the air this time, and one more trip around for the first Rate Fate Chevrolet, looking to start a championship march here tonight as he will go to victory lane. Daniel Falkingham, your winner at Bristol.
That was a fantastic drive from Falkingham, picking the inside, hoping to... Oh, and there's a wreck behind just after the finish line. But Falkingham made a good decision to go down low. He wanted to be able to get that run off the corner of turn 4 to be able to just surge forward, and that's exactly what happened. Comstock and Cohan giving Falkingham a little celebratory bump there. Little congratulations for winning that hard-won race. And, you know, Falkingham has been on it all day, taking the lead and then keeping it almost the entire time. Fantastic job to him, as well as the other drivers for keeping their cars as clean as they could and, you know, being able to finish this race in what was essentially a war of attrition.
It really was, and, you know, we talk about how chaotic and crazy Bristol and some of these other tracks can be, where sim racers pull up to and they think there might be a lot of cautions. Well, guess where there isn't usually attrition? Out front with the leader. And Falkingham, a perfect example of that, as he goes to victory lane for the 6th time in the 2020 Sim500 Transervice Cup Series. It is now second to only Adam Gilliland. He has just 1 win behind Gilliland as far as the total for the season is concerned. Justin Fowler is able to bring it home in second. Actually, why don't we go ahead and take a look at our full field rundown as you see Gilliland doing a little bit of reverse driving here. It would be interesting if we made these guys go backwards for about another 250 laps. Maybe we could do that one day. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and give you our full field rundown here tonight. Daniel Falkingham finishes up in the top spot. Justin Fowler brings it home in second. David Comstock, a solid run for the 42 Monster Energy Chevrolet. He'll round out the podium. Nick Cohen in 4th. EJ O'Rourke, a strong night, will almost certainly put him into the next round. He finishes up in 5th. Tommy Ryan, a solid points night for him as well. He finishes up in 6th. Brian Macklin, after being caught in a huge late wreck, he had smoke coming out of his car just as he exited the crash scene. He still brings it home in 7th. Doug Roth brings it home in 8th. Chad Cole is 9th. Kyle Tarasca will round out your top 10.
And then heading into your top 20 here, you got in 11th position Nick Silver, someone who was battling right near the top 5, but unfortunately fell down a little bit, likely due to a couple wrecks. Adam Gilliland in 12th, Trey Aitson in 13th, Nelson Rivera in 14th, Timothy Johnson in 15th, Richard Beasley in the number 10 car in 16th, Scott Smiley in the 12 Chevrolet in 17th, Jeff Shrewsbury in the 7 Ford in 18th, Chad Coleman in the 38th, finishing 19th, and then rounding out your top 20, Gail Brooks in the 71 Toyota in 20th.
And this is those are the last drivers that completed this race under the green flag. Jeff Ryan finishes up in 21st, scored 12 laps down. 22nd goes to Thomas O'Leary. 23rd to Joey Katina. 24th, Mike Kelly. 25th is Glenn Campbell. 26th goes to Scott Stenzel. 27th, Sean Castro. 28th, Randy Yoakum. 29th was Donnie Leah. And 30th was Eric Arnold. 31st to Brian Fallon. 32nd is Don Runkle Jr. 33rd to Shane Ewing. 34th, Josh Parker. 35th is John Borst. 36th was Jason Barham. 37th, a start and park effort tonight for Anthony DeBarro, and he was the last driver that completed a lap. You see Kevin Brown and Christopher Tate on your screen. They did not complete a lap, so doubt they get points. And unfortunately for Kevin Brown, that's going to put him outside the playoff picture. But we've caught up with our race winner. It's the 2nd straight week that he is here in Gatorade Victory Lane. Daniel Falkingham, your winner at Bristol. And I do have to say, Daniel, actually, wait just a moment here as we get Daniel Falkingham all situated here in Victory Lane on the front straightaway here at the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway. But nevertheless, as we wait just a moment to get him up here into the booth, is worth mentioning, Strick. Still a strong run for Daniel Falkingham. And, we saw two heavyweights go at it tonight, Falkingham and Gilliland. Gilliland gets wrapped up in some late race drama. But, I think perhaps Falkingham, rather, making that statement tonight that out of those two juggernauts, maybe he's the favorite to go up there and win this championship. And we'll save that for a couple of moments for now, as Falkingham will make his way over to us here in the booth. And Daniel, second straight week we get to talk to you. Another strong run here at the short track. And boy, you're just able to kind of get up front and got there at the right time to avoid all the chaos behind you.
A nice solid copy and paste of the spring race. We got on the right pit strategy, took tires there late, then got up front, and then just the car just kept falling, just like I said, copy and paste of the spring race, where we had a nice green flag run to start, and then it all went to shreds pretty quickly. But luckily, I was on the right tire strategy for once, so thought that was pretty good for on my part. We were just able to control the race just on our short runs. Pretty much, I was really good with the short runs and stuff. Just long runs, I just didn't feel comfortable because I would just burn my right front off way too much. Sometimes my right rear, it was either one or the other. But I was pretty lucky to get myself a short run there and just thankfully have the track position over Adam, because I feel like we definitely weren't the fastest car tonight, that's for sure. Adam definitely had the field covered, I feel like, in my opinion. So pretty cool. And I know he got in that little wreck back there when he decided to pit for tires there. But knowing we were locked into the round of 12 after Richmond, I knew we were just going to come in here, have some fun and whatnot. And what the heck? We managed to pull off 2 in a row and do the Bristol sweep. So that's pretty cool.
I was about to say, it doesn't go too far in terms of helping you for the next round, but it does do a good job of preparing you and keeping you up front. I think we talked about it last week, but I'll go ahead and mention it to you again. Looking forward to the round of 12. You see a couple tracks, Vegas included. Which one do you think you're circling as perhaps a way to go out and get your 7th win of the season?
100%, I feel like the Roval, because I just love road course racing. I felt like we had pretty good strong runs at Sonoma and which we called the Daytona Road Course. I felt like we could have won the Daytona Road Course. I just wasn't on my game during that race. I felt like I made a lot of mistakes in that race. But the Roval's course, I feel like I know a lot more better than the Daytona Road Course, since we've had it on racing the last few years and it's been on the schedule. And we were able to win the Roval last year to get us through the round of 12 as well. But this time it's going to take us to the round of 8. So hopefully we can just have some solid runs at Vegas. Vegas, I think we'll do pretty good. Finish top 5 in the spring, so we should have a solid run there. Talladega, it's always going to be unpredictable. We finished 3rd in the spring there too, but I mean, it's never always going to be the same like the first time round. But it's definitely going to be a wild round at 12, that's for sure. And I don't know if we get any bonus points from our wins from this round, but have to wait and see about that. But got some good momentum heading to the round of 12. Like I said, Vegas should be good. Talladega is going to be unpredictable, but the Roval is what I got my eye on.
No doubt. Well, looking forward to the Roval, but Daniel, pretty commonplace. Sure, you're used to it, but go ahead and throw you the mic one more time. Give a shout out to anybody that needs it, that gets you in victory lane for a 6th time this year.
Absolutely. Got to thank First Rate Bay Lobster 207 for all they do and all their support as well. Also got to thank Sean Castro for painting me this brand new car. Hey, we're 2 for 2 with this paint scheme, so bring me some good luck. So definitely got to hopefully keep this running the rest of the season. Also got to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. Definitely going to be fun to go back and watch this. I mean, I know it's probably frustrating with a lot of the caution and stuff, but I'm pretty sure you guys had a blast just putting on the show and stuff. So appreciate you guys. Thanks to everyone at Sim500 for all they do, Joey and all the admins who run the show throughout the entire week for all the races we do. Thanks to everyone who comes out and races each and every week to put on some strong competition. I've got to thank Tom Delfonso Designs for sponsoring the race tonight. I've been kind of lacklustering on trying to thank the sponsor of the race, so I just want to get that out there. So thanks to Tom Delfonso. Also got to thank Transervice for sponsoring the entire series. I know they've had their support for us for the last few years, so thank you to them. And I got to thank everyone at Team Name, Chad Coleman, Rich Beasley, Josh Parker, and Dave Constock, who returned tonight, and he was able to get a solid top 3 there, so good job to him. Nice return for him. And just thank all the fans who watched us tonight, and thanks to anyone who watched my stream tonight at Dan_Falkingham_30 on Twitch.
All right, Daniel, that does it for another winner's interview for Daniel Falkingham, and we'll just go ahead and move right along to the driver that brought it home in second. Was in a situation where he needed to make it on points, and, well, I think second place is about as good as it can get. One spot away from a victory, but Justin, you're on to the round of 12. How does it feel?
It feels pretty good, especially heading to statistically probably my best track at Sim500 with the Cup car. I think I've won the last 2 or 3 Vegas races in a row, so we're looking forward to that. Bristol, love this track. I had good expectations coming in the night. I was a second place car to Adam all night, and then we just kind of got on the wrong side of strategy a little bit, and he and I got together, made some contact there, and I got the worst end of that. So the car wasn't the same after that, but I'm more than happy to bring home a second place and move on.
Certainly so, and I know today was definitely a track I think you have circled, right? You definitely have shown some speed on the short tracks, whether it's here, Richmond, or Martinsville. I'm sure this is a track that, albeit you're in an elimination scenario, obviously you're feeling the pressure, but it seemed like you handled it well, and obviously the short tracks I think plays right into your favor.
Yeah, honestly, absolutely. Richmond, not so much. I'm terrible there. I hate that place. So, but here, Martinsville, really looking forward to Phoenix as well. Hopefully I can make it to the Final Four. I think I said it last week that, if I make it to Phoenix, I feel like I have a legitimate chance to race with, some of the guys for the championship there, because I'm really good at that track too. So, yeah, I've definitely got the 750 horsepower package figured out, the low downforce. But I also have the 550 package down too. What a lot of people do. I mean, it's just the 550 package is so numb, you're just wide open and try to keep clean air on your nose. So, yeah, I really love this track. I really wanted to win this race tonight, but all night I was just a second place car. I don't think I led a single lap.
Well, nevertheless, it's still good enough to move you on into the second round, so you have to be happy about that. You obviously like your prospects going forward, particularly if you're able to make that championship race. But Justin, I'll go ahead and throw you the mic one more time here tonight. Really solid run for you as you rebound late to get up to the second position. Sure, you got a lot of people to thank out there.
Yeah, thanks a lot. We're finally putting together some good finishes here. We've had a rough summer, and we're starting to turn things around here, getting hot. Maybe not hot, but at least we're consistent, running up front, top 5, getting top 5 finishes now. I think this is only my 7th top 5 of the season, 2 in a row, so we'll take it. I want to thank Scott Stenzel with Personal Comfort for being a big supporter of mine. Better number, better price. I say it all the time when I'm interviewed. I have one of his products right here, and I absolutely love it. I sleep great, and I'll sleep great tonight. I want to thank Sean Yoder with Nemesis Lab for being my main sponsor for the Cup Series. If you're looking for sim racing equipment, check them out. They got some pretty cool stuff. I want to thank Transervice Logistics for sponsoring the series. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to do this. Also thank all the admins at Sim500 with Joey Gattina for all the work that they do. You're not going to find much better of a fixed setup league than Sim500 across the board. We're racing 7 to 8 times a week. I'm not, but the league is. Want to thank everybody for watching the race. Thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. I'm pretty sure my dad watched, so I'll send a shout out to him. He watches most of these races. So thanks to all my teammates. Good win to Daniel. And we'll see you all in Vegas.
Certainly will, and Fuller an awfully strong run tonight. He brings it home in second. A lot to look forward to in the round of 12. But, I'm really interested to talk to our driver that finishes up in third tonight. Not out here for any playoffs, just out here running for himself. Has started about half the races in the Sim500 Transervice Cup Series this season. 26 races now on the docket. He started 13 of them, but for him, it's his sixth top 5 of the year. And David, great run out there tonight. It looked like the strategy worked out for you late, and you certainly win the Hard Charger Award. Started 31st and finish up on the podium tonight.
Yeah, it was pretty messy in between. I think we got somewhere up near right around 10th that early run, and then there was a stack up. A couple cars got in the fence. They're 1 and 2, and I checked up for it because I seen a couple guys get turned sideways, and I got hit. It spun me out, and by the time I got it going, I was lapped down. So I was chasing Lucky Dog, and finally got that. And I just had to play the tire strategy, and it landed at 50 to go, and me and my teammates, we were all discussing probably that was about the window and need to come and take tires and then try to charge back through the field, and had to dodge a lot of mayhem, get back through there, and caught some lucky breaks with missing some wrecks. Got hit a couple times, got turned sideways, and somehow kept it going straight after all of it, and got some lucky breaks as well with the restarts and getting in the right lines, and just happened to land in third place there at the end.
And for some people, they may think, well, you know, for the races you've made it out, you've been just incredibly consistent. No, it's been a while since you've come out here to the Sim500 Transervice Cup Series, all the way back in July 6th that we saw you last. But when you've been out here, it seems like fourth is your favorite spot to finish. So you finally get one spot better tonight. Where do you think that consistency lies for you? Because obviously, if you're out here full time, you'd be out here competing, certainly in the playoffs, and perhaps even have a run at this championship.
Yeah, I mean, I know definitely the performance side. I feel like that I'm up there. I don't feel like I'm the best. I feel like there's guys like Adam Gillen, Daniel Falkingham. Fuller is really quick as well, consistent every single week. Cohan, Trey Edson. There's a ton of guys out there that are, I feel like, way faster than me on a consistent basis. I just happen to land some good strategies and get some good breaks here and there sometimes. But we had some equipment failure, I guess we'll call it. I had my wheelbase that I had decided to go dead on me with the power supply. So I that, and then between just my personal life getting really busy, I just hadn't had time to race and really didn't want to spend the money at the time to pay for a new wheelbase. So I just took some time off, and luckily there wasn't too much rust to knock off to get back to it. But yeah, it would have been nice to be able to chase, knowing that the speed's there, and fourth is consistent. But ideally, I'd like to try to get 3 more spots better and try to win every race I can.
No doubt about it, David. Well, congrats on a great run tonight. You finish up in the podium, you end with an interview, and I'll ask you one more question. I'll hand the mic to you one more time. And anybody out there that needs a shout out, this is your opportunity to do so.
Yeah, I'd like to thanks all my teammates. Appreciate Joey and all the admins at Sim500 for running our leagues. Even though I've been MIA for a while, I still appreciate everything that they have going on for us. I'm able to return and still be able to have fun with everybody. It's good to be back on track with everyone else as well. The competitive spirit that everybody displays here, it makes it fun to be able to return whenever I'm able to again. But Transervice Cup for sponsoring the series, and thanks to Monster Energy, Oakley, RacingBiz.com, again, all my teammates, and you guys for broadcasting. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, that is David Comstock. He finishes up in third. And Strix, I just, one final thought before we leave. I know it was something that we mentioned a little bit earlier tonight about incident points that we were talking about. It'd be really interesting if anybody ended up with 0. There were 2 drivers that ended up with 0. I'll give you one of them. Obviously, Daniel Falkingham, 0 incident points tonight. He finishes up in the top spot. Could you name the other driver in this field that had 0 incident points alongside Falkingham?
Was it Comstock?
It was not. Comstock had 32 incident points. It was Doug Roth, name we didn't mention a whole lot tonight. The driver of the 43 ends up with 0 incident points. And, you know, I actually think Comstock may have led. We see a couple of 32s out there as far as incident points are concerned. But an interesting guess, and I think that's just a shot in the dark. You can't really have to actually go off of that. But we leave Bristol. I'll ask you for your final thoughts as we leave here tonight. A pretty wild and crazy race, but at the end of the day, I think the fastest car still ended up winning.
Absolutely. You know, Falkingham was just on a roll. He was not stopping anytime soon. He kept it clean, he kept it going, and he did a fantastic job running that car through the track. But my final thoughts on this race is that it's just as chaotic as it always is. It's always just like absolutely nuts. You know, you never know what's going to happen. One of those things, not knowing what you're going to happen, is I wasn't necessarily supposed to be here, but one of our broadcasters had, unfortunately, some technical issues, so I had to come in and fill in. But, you know, it's always a lot of fun to fill in, especially when it's at Bristol, because it's always going to be exciting, and my job is always going to be easy because there's always going to be something going on to talk about. But, you know, I got to hand it off to all the drivers. You know, it's hard to drive at this track for that long and keep your car clean, or at least relatively clean. So, you know, if you finish tonight, congratulations. You should pat yourself on the back and grab yourself a cold beverage, because that's not easy to do.
Well, it's certainly not, but that'll wrap things up here from Bristol. We still have some action a little bit later on for you in the week. You have the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series tomorrow night, as well as a Road to Pro doubleheader. The season finale, we'll be carrying it live here on Podium Esports at the Phoenix Raceway to see who will finish in the top 20 to transfer into the Pro Series, and of course a shot at the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series for 2021. The Esports Racing League gets rolling again on Wednesday night with the Cars Esports Tour directly after that, so make sure you don't miss a second of that as well. So for my broadcast partners, Taylor Burris, as well as Strix Tricks, which again, we thank you for being out here on such a short notice. I'm Blake McCandless, and with Zach Johnson. Can't forget Zach Johnson down in the production trailer. And for Cisco Scarrett Music, Gary Sexton, John Theodore, Podium Esports. And for our entire broadcast crew, I'm Blake McCandless saying so long from Bristol, and congratulations to Daniel Falkingham, your winner tonight. We'll see you next time.